Let me take the opportunity to welcome those of us who are here this morning. We have a very interesting lesson. We are in lesson 11, Joseph, Master of Dreams. And this is not a strange lesson. This is a very familiar story in the Bible that a lot of us should be familiar with. And throughout the quarter, we have been studying about Joseph, the entire book of Genesis, and I know we have unearthed some new gems. One of the wonderful things about the Bible is that no matter how many times we read a particular chapter, when we go back, we can always find new meanings and new learnings. So today we're going to look at them, and not just for the sake of studying them and looking at the life of Joseph, but how it applies to us and how we can also learn from it to make ourselves better Christians. So let us repeat the memory text together. Genesis 37 verse 19. Then they said to one another, "Look, this dreamer is coming." Okay, so the topic, Joseph, Master of Dreams, and the memory text. Then they said to one another, "Look, this dreamer is coming," and trust that most of us, if not all of us, would have studied the lesson, and we are able to draw something from the topic of the lesson and the memory text. Any thought from the class? Joseph, Master of Dreams, and then they said to one another, "Look, this dreamer is coming." Any thoughts on the memory text?
When they just looking, when they say look, you must say, people say, "Good job, you know, that's easy." No, come, they're ready to move.
Okay. Okay. So Joseph,
I feel like the reason why they were saying that this dreamer is coming because of the dreams that Joseph had dreamed and sharing with them, where they see like it seems as if everybody has to bow to this little boy. So know that they see him coming. They want to, you'll say, venge their anger.
So, okay, so they weren't excited to see like, "Oh, here comes a dreamer."
No, not
No,
that.
not that excited.
Was he Joseph, Master of Dreams? I came dreaming of God giving him visions. Joseph, Master of Dreams. It seems as if, like, when you look at it, I know the interpretation is like, we just believe in that dream. Master of Dreams, and was he really the dreamer or God giving him visions?
I have the same thoughts like Joseph, Master of Dreams. Is that the correct word to use? You think that word really adequately describes Joseph and captures the essence of his life as being when you're the master of something, what does that say?
Yes, it's not very properly, proper. Because the reason why it's captured proper from me, none of us can do anything without God. And God gave to us, some of us, special gift. So it was just that he was the one who get this special gift from God. So he captured good man.
So it wasn't about so much about Joseph, it was God giving him directing his life from the very start by giving him dreams because the dreams that he have got, if you notice how they play out in the long run, in his life and so forth. So it was God indirectly directing his life.
Okay. Sorry, Brother Blackwood and then Sister AC.
There was this one point in the reading that it struck me when the butler and the baker, when they were giving their dream. No, they were sad. And he said to them, dream, isn't it that God, he not say David, he not say Joseph, no. Isn't it God who interprets dream?
Amen.
But when he said that, what struck me now, because when he prayed for no interpretation, when he just answer and give interpretation, that is to tell me that he knows that God, he not him.
Yes, so everything that happens, we're not going to see it outlaid like, and then Joseph went and prayed. So this lesson it's presenting a parallel all through with Joseph and Daniel. They had the same sort of approach to interpreting dreams, that the interpretation is not of themselves, so God is given the glory. In the case of Daniel, we were shown that Daniel went and fasted and prayed. In the case of Joseph, the lesson did not stipulate that, but without a doubt, that would have happened. Probably Joseph offered a silent prayer. So, in the two, there's a lot of parallel there, and I think there is a reason. So I'm jumping the lesson because the point was raised. Because when I look at Joseph and Daniel's life, it's interesting. And I'm trying to figure out, is it that God uses us better when we're in adversity? Because Daniel was taken captive. He was a slave in Babylon. And Joseph was taken captive. He was a slave in Egypt. And both of them were dreamers, so to speak. We could say Daniel, master of dreams as well. And it's just the same when Daniel was in obscurity and Joseph was in obscurity. Somebody was there to say, hey, there is a man. When the handwriting was on the wall, the king's mother could say, sent to Belshazzar and said, don't worry, there is a man here that your father or your grandfather had before. And it's the same thing. Joseph was in prison. Nobody remembered about him. And God just gave the king a dream that he couldn't remember. And then the butler was able to say, oh yes, there was a man. There was a man in prison that interpreted the dream. And all throughout the lesson we see that God is behind all of his promises. And sometimes it might look like the dream is going to not be fulfilled, but being delayed doesn't mean that it's not going to be fulfilled. Sister Hastings at a point.
I was going to say went to bed, or maybe had a dream. And sometimes we go to bed, oh, I dreamed this, and I dream something, and reality doesn't come to pass. But he had his dream, and he spoke to his brother and his father. I noticed the Bible said he kept the matter in his heart.
Okay.
Because he meditates upon it. Because he realized that his son dreaming this, and he realized that maybe God is giving him this dream and thinking that it's going to go to pass. While the brothers, they were so envious of him, because they are thinking that he's probably making up his dream and saying these things.
To get his father's favor.
Yes. And not realize that soon this will come to pass. And we see exactly how it was played out.
And it is very interesting that when God favors us, out of some people just do some things that validate what God has already predicted. Like Jacob made this coat for him, and the coat denotes princeship or rulership. And then he started getting these dreams, but outside of that, he was also one of the most obedient of the 12. And that was what caused Jacob to favor him. And that was like the characteristics that God looks for in a person to use them as well. It says under the introduction, although Joseph is just one of Jacob's sons, he's presented in Genesis as a great patriarch, like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And this is like a very important lesson for young people, because how old, I'm going to ask one of the young people, how old was Joseph when he started getting these dreams? There are a lot of young persons here, so I guess it falls on. No. Anyone else want to guess?
17.
You're not a young person. Well.
Yeah.
Yes, Joseph was just 17 years old.
And you see the connection, I think also the three Hebrew boys when they left to go
To Babylon.
Babylon, I think they were around that age.
Yes. I remember that in the Jewish culture, the men are recognized as entering manhood at the age of what? 12. They actually have a special ceremony that ushers them over into this old manhood phase. And we probably think now that people are having children early, but like I think when Mary became pregnant of the Holy Ghost, she was very young as well when she was betrothed, to Joseph. So that is how it was back in the culture there. But it is very interesting as we go through the lesson where we'll see that even though Joseph was separated from his family at this early age of 17, the Christian values and principles, even though he came from a dysfunctional home, which is what sparked a lot of this jealousy and whatever that was going on, David stuck true to his principle, and it reinforces the Bible promise doctrine, the Bible verse that says, train up a child in the way that he should go, and when he is old, he'll not depart from it. Because you think that Joseph being taken away at age 17 and going into a palace and seeing all of the trappings and the sophistry and all of that, he would have given up on his faith, but he did not. He did not give up on God. And this going through this lesson again this week also brought to my mind the story of the little maid. We know her as the little maid that was captured, and she went, and just the same, she was able to bring the knowledge of the God of Israel to a pagan king. Elder Kennedy.
Ask that question here. When you look at the life of Jesus, how his brother hated him, chewing up him, sold him, and everything. And we are saying that God is working through all of this. We are saying that God is working through all of this. So, in terms of what happened in regards to his brother, do you think that God, it was the happenings that were happening was that God allowed these happenings to happen, or God made these happenings to happen, that his mission could have been done?
You got to answer? Okay.
No, God did not make those things happen. God protected through those things. So there is two powers in the world, good and evil. It's just that Joseph was in the arms of God. His brothers was on the other side at that point. At that point. But no matter where the Bible tells you, no matter where you go to God, man, if God not firm knitting, nothing can do. You can't do nothing to kill God. And if God is a man, there's nothing you can do to affect him, hurt him. You try, but you will not succeed.
I asked a question to suggest that they were brothers.
Yes.
Brothers.
Yes, man.
Are we in the church here, our brothers? Brothers.
Yes,
You know what happened in brother to brother? They tried to kill him, they sold him, and the same thing is even happening within the church.
Yes.
Maybe somebody hated somebody for some reason or whatever. And it is not an outsider who have done that. But you want Christian brethren. And then sometimes we turn around and would hate such a one, and we would blame such a one, and we would say all manner of things in such a, and we do not see, oh God, in terms of working through your life to deliver you, to bring you at a place that is more suitable for him, for him to use you, to bring out his mission. And sometimes we must have to look at the negative and look at the positive.
And I just told this in sister.
Okay, so I want to move on. I just want to encapsulate it.
One point.
In heavenly places, from Ellen White, to answer your question, Ella Kennedy, he said the Lord permits calamities to come to his people to save them from greater dangers. He desires everyone to examine his own art closely and carefully, and then draw near to God, that God may draw near to him. Our life is in the hands of God. He sees dangers threatening us that we cannot see. He sees the perils that we cannot see. He may permit to come upon his people that which fills their heart with sadness, because he sees that they need to make straight paths for their feet, lest the lame be turned out of the way. So, let me just read one other quick quote. He said, trials come to us all to lead us to investigate our hearts, to see if they are purified from all that defiles. Constantly, the Lord is working to our present and eternal good. And this brings to my mind the song that says, it's the trial that makes pure gold. So, according to the lesson, Joseph had some little areas in his life that needed to be strengthened. And whilst we know that it was shown that his brethren, including his father, would really bow down to him and he was going to become great, maybe that was not the way how it was supposed to happen with him being sold. But when he was sold, we noticed that God intervened there and he got to where God wanted him to go. I don't know if it is that he got there earlier than it was supposed to happen, because like we've always said, in the case of, and there are parallels between the life of Joseph and Jesus, and we're always saying, if Judas never did betray Christ the way it was done, how would he have died? It's this kind of same question that we could be asking about what happened with Joseph. If his brothers had not sold him, how would he have gotten to Egypt? That's a question for you to mull on. I was saying that the life of Christ and Joseph are also parallel too, because look at some of the similarities. Joseph was sold for 20 pieces of silver. Jesus was sold for 30 pieces. Joseph was stripped of his garment. Jesus was stripped of, and his garment was dipped in animal's blood. Jesus was stripped of his garment and they cast lots for it. And it's the same way he was, lies were told on him, and Jesus' lies were told on Joseph, just the same. So there are a lot of parallels there. But when I want us to look, we know the story, and we can refer to it in Genesis 37, verses 1 to 11. It tells us why Joseph's brothers hated him, because one of the reasons why they hated him, two came out in the lesson. One was that he, tell upon him brothers them, so when they were doing wrongs, he went and reported to the father. But the pen of inspiration says Joseph actually spoke to them before about their behavior. And when they decided not to change, he went to the father. So he was seen as a snitch, as like daddy's favorite. And then to top it off now, him go get all these dreams, and his father will make him this special coat. And the lesson is saying that this can be a bad thing for parents to do, and it's a warning for parents who have more than one child, to show favoritism to one particular child. So this kind of helped to fuel all of how the brothers felt towards Joseph. Not just that, the rivalry was coming from way back when Joseph took another wife. So the wives were in rivalry to see who could have the most children. And when that wasn't working, then they started giving in the handmaid. So it's like the whole rivalry thing and the jealousy thing was coming from the mothers right down. And we see that even in today's society, when a third party gets into a relationship, a marriage relationship, it can cause a whole lot of problems. Even now, you may have people who, let's just say they have two sets of children. People can put it that way. They have outside children and they might get married. Sometimes when the father dies and the estate is to be divided. You see some whole heap of children that come from all about where nobody never know about and come to make claims, and those things can cause a lot of problem in family relationship. And what is written in the Bible, it's written for our learning. That came out in the lesson. And a lot of times we don't follow what the Bible says, and we end up into a lot of trouble. But this was where this was the crux of the whole matter. I guess you could say Jacob started it bad, and it went on this way. Sister Hastings.
No, I was just going to touch on that, what you just said, because when you show favoritism to one child, because this is where the jealousy started from. And we also look at the fact that Rachel was the woman that he loved. Yes? The other woman were just his side chick, if you're going to say that. And we also look at Joseph as a captain. He loved to carry things to his father. And I think the father also loved to hear what Joseph liked to bring to him. Because I think there was one point where he said that, go and visit them and tell me what they're up to. And this bring out such a character in Joseph as well. And we need to, it doesn't matter our children, we need to embrace them and love them. It's not good to love one over the other, because this is where you find jealousy. And this is what jealousy leads them to put their brother in the
So that account is found in Genesis 37, verses 12 to 36. But because of, in the interest of time, we won't read all of it. But I saw it there, when in verse 12, Jacob said to Joseph, Then his brothers went to feed their father's flock, 37 verse 12, in Shechem. And Israel said to Joseph, so that's Jacob said to Joseph, are not your brothers feeding the flock in Shechem? Come, I will send you to them. Then he said, please go and see if it is well with your brothers and well with the flocks, and bring back word to me. So, when I was reading this, I was wondering if Jacob was ignorant to how the brothers felt toward Joseph, to be sending him out there all by himself. And Jacob's sons were like what you say now. Them never easy in a Jamaican language. Remember what they did with the men who took their sister. So, and when you read further, it tells that people around were afraid of them. 11 brothers, 11 big strong men. And I don't think Jacob was ignorant to how they felt towards Joseph, and yet still he sent this little 17-year-old out there to go and look for them. I think Brother Blackwood hand was up before with that point.
With Joseph, the thing when we see a common is that Joseph, as a man of God, and so we have to try to live our life. Because the brothers, they try everything possible. They didn't want to go to him as a brother. And that's a wickedness going on. All of us is here. But when I go to Elder Kennedy or give good news about Elder Kennedy, they're not going to get to do that. But at the time when they went to Egypt, not knowing that he was their brother, they all bowed. What a wickedness! You're willing to go to a stranger where you don't know. But the one you know, kill your dead, you'd rather kill him than to go to him. That ring a bell in my head.
But you see, they didn't have a choice. They didn't have a choice whether they knew him or not, because even when they went down to Egypt, they knew that it was Joseph. No. Remember when they found out that it was Joseph, they were afraid, because Joseph had people they were wondering if Joseph was going to take revenge on them for what they did. So whether they knew him or not, if God was not in Joseph's heart, they would still have need to fear, because Joseph could have executed whatever punishment he wished there, and they would not be able to do anything about it. Sister Hastings, do you have a point?
No, I was just going to say before you understand it, Joseph, even when they found him in the pit, the Bible never said that Joseph complained or murmured. Whatever was done to him, he just take it with a pinch of salt, you say.
Yeah.
And just, yeah, it was frightening.
He was frightened.
Yeah, but what I'm saying,
Yeah.
he didn't complain. It didn't, the Bible, I never read where it said he complained. I am sure he was scared.
He was scared.
Yeah.
It was, because in the lesson, I'm not sure if it's in the lesson or it's in just a minute, my sister, or it's in further study that I did. It said that when Joseph came up to them and they saw the anger and everything, he saw the anger and everything on their faces. He feared for his life and he was trying to get away, but they just grabbed him and just tear off his clothes. And of course, and then they started saying, let us see what's going to become of your dream now and everything. I remember the whole time they were there planning what to do with him, to kill him, whatever. He was hearing everything. It's not like they went one side and said it and he wasn't hearing. So he was very much afraid. My sister.
I'm not saying he was afraid, but he didn't fight back. Yes? He didn't.
He couldn't. We what, 10? One, I think Benjamin would have been.
You know, just he humbled himself, just like Christ humbled himself to be down. He humbled himself.
That's what I'm saying. The parallels that are there.
Yeah, Christ, just like Christ humbled himself.
Yes, definitely. My sister, you have a point?
He has a point.
You have a point?
Just to say that Joseph was very scared. If I go to Kingston and get lost, and I see even two men, or even one woman, one woman that I don't know, I am scared to death. Joseph was really scared for his life. And when that truck moved away with him and they were out of sight, he was really scared. Really scared. But I think the thing that kept Joseph is how his father trained him. He knew the spiritual side, he knew God. And that was the only thread that he had to hold on to. And so it is with us today, brethren. Our job is going to come. And it is only what we have within us that is going to take us through. No friend, no family, no husband, no wife, but just what we have, the relationship with God, that is going to take us through.
Okay, I don't want to break the chain about Joseph, so I'm going to jump a bit over Judah and Tamar, but I'm going to come back to it, because I want to look at in one quick, in that small shell, Joseph as a slave in Egypt, yes, Joseph as a slave in Egypt. So we know, and the dreams of her. So we notice that Joseph, he was still coming under a lot of attack in Egypt. As we would know, he got his good looks and everything from his mother, I believe, Rachel. Joseph was sexually harassed. And Joseph, they say hell hath no, I don't know if you've ever heard this phrase, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. So can you imagine, Joseph ran, he was being sexually harassed, he ran leaving his clothes behind, and Pharaoh's wife flipped the script and said he tried to rape her. Potiphar's wife Joseph tried to rape her. One school of thought, and it's something that we have discussed before, that based on the turn of events, Potiphar did not believe the story. I don't know what you think in the class. You thought Potiphar believed the story?
I think he trusted him so much that I think he just do it. Put him in
To appease the wife.
Yes. And I don't think he believed that.
I don't think he believed the story, because what I learned, oh, my sister, let me hear.
The evidence was there. The shirt was in her hand.
Yes.
So even though he didn't want to buy the story, but the evidence was there in his wife's hand that he fled with. And hear what she said. When she
Made an alarm.
when she lifted her voice, he ran and left Israel. So the evidence was there. So even if Potiphar didn't want to really buy into the story, I think Potiphar has a struggle right there because the evidence was there. And that is how the enemy work, brethren. So you look true, but are not true.
What, and you know that comes to ask the question, what does this teach us about what we see? Because I've been trying to remember from this week, like there's something that says, don't, like you mustn't believe a certain percentage of what you see and even less of what you hear, because the evidence can be there, what they call it, circumstantial evidence. So it's just that you're in the wrong place at the wrong time and something happened and somebody pin it on you. And the evidence, as you say, my sister, is there, but it's not true. It's just like somebody might walk around and say, you know, they're going to do 20 something. Or they're specific about what they're going to do. Somebody else do it. Or something else happen. And the first person that's going to be the suspect is who? Is the person who did go say they're going to do it. And they probably even have put some evidence. We have seen it, we have heard it. Some evidence there that it's unmistakable you are the person who did it. A lot of people are in prison now for things that they didn't do. But somehow the overwhelming evidence is there and only God knows. So why I said that, you know, if you look, when we're not going to go through the dreams in detail, but when Joseph was called to interpret the dream to Pharaoh, and Joseph interpreted the dream. To me, Potiphar, it's like he was dying for an opportunity to reinstate Joseph. He was like, well, since you are the man who I see the Spirit of God in, who is able to give you the interpretation, who better to put over the ruling of the affairs than you? So when I read that, I just said, wow, Potiphar was just waiting for a chance to reinstate Joseph, because I don't think he really believed that Joseph was guilty. Elder Kennedy then Brother Blackwood.
I think I read it somewhere where it is not the first, where
the wife.
Infidelity on her part was done. And so Potiphar knew that. You see, Potiphar had the authority to kill Joseph immediately.
Yes.
Because of such a crime that, you know, but he knew that it's not the first that the wife had shown, you know, I've done what she had done in terms of, that's the guy, you just put him in prison. Okay. Sister.
Just to add another thing to that. It's not my thoughts. I don't have any proof on it. Maybe it's there, but one of the lessons I was listening to this week said the same thing that Elder Kennedy says, that apparently there are two prisons. There's a pauper's prison and there's a prisoner where the king's choice people go. And they are saying, it's either Potiphar would have put Joseph in that other prison, or he would have killed him, but he didn't put him at any of those places. So that gives an indication that he really didn't you know, believe the story 100%. But as my sister said, the evidence was there and he had to act one way or another. So I'm going to let you
I think
finish.
you raise a point. In terms of favoritism, I'm going to blow up something here. You ask if God shows favoritism. I said that parents should not show favoritism.
But the Bible says God does not show favoritism.
Hold on. God said, those whom he loves, he rebuke and chasten. Let me tell you something. We might not look at it as favoritism, right? I might say it's not favoritism. But let me tell you something. God is not going to take, let me start. God is not going to take something that he has so much of a person who was saying. Not put it in a stand. We are putting at those who love him and share it. It's not a favoritism. It's a type of favoritism. Because God not favor a sinner man who got no way at all. Just like the children of a child, and that child love you and show you respect and everything. Whatsoever. Let me tell you something. There's something in you that's linked you to that child in such a way and everybody ever see. No matter how you look at it, everybody see. And what they have a brother saying, let me tell you something. This mommy boy and daddy's boy, then let me tell you something. Teach all this. This is sin, virgin. Sin go against everything that God desires.
Alright, so I want to respond to that because I don't know, we have to be careful how we interpret things sometimes, and we can put spin on some things. You know, like in court, we're going back to that, a person can be guilty but because they have a very good lawyer who can talk and rebut the other person, the guilty person gets away, but it doesn't mean that the guilty person is innocent. It's just that they have a good lawyer who knows certain things and knows to twist around certain things and say it. So I'm saying that to say that the Bible says that God does not show favoritism, and it goes for it to say that all those who come under the umbrella are obedient to what God says. His favor will fall on them, so it's conditional. We fulfill in a certain condition, God's favor fall on us. So anybody and everybody can receive that favor, but it's up to us to let God's favor fall on us. So God does not show favoritism.
That's a speaking.
That's not a speed, that's what the Bible says. Not a blank code.
37, chapter 37, Genesis 37, 26. This struck me also.
Genesis which one? 36.
36. Look at this.
Genesis 36?
37.
Oh, Genesis 37, the entire chapter?
No, man, verse 26. And Judah said unto his brethren, what profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? No, this was Judah then.
Yes.
And if you notice, when it was ended, it was the same Judah who went to Joseph now, not knowing that Joseph is Joseph.
Yes.
Yes. Joseph, you know when Judah said was already in the
Yes.
and Joseph had here the same things. Hallelujah.
Yes.
I come back out of Judah out now. That gave Joseph reason now. He said, you know, say something about it. Some of us, whether we believe it, yes or no, some of us, it's like when we are baby, we don't say we are walk straight from we are baby, you know. God had direct with life. You come out from in everything. He might direct with life. And that is to separate you. You see people that will really work with God. You will know. And Joseph knew. Definitely know. So when their brother changed, no.
Yes.
They can't trust them, no. That's why it could have revealed. Say, I'm here on the brother now. You realize?
Okay, so you touched on something that I want to touch on that jumped out in the lesson I forgot. Whenever God's favor is on us and we are blessed, as is evidenced by what is chronicled here about Joseph. Anywhere you're there, you're blessed. Whether you're in a prison,
yes.
Whether you don't have no work, whether you're hungry, whatever. Anything you do, any business, anything you touch,
Blessed.
it's blessed. Anybody around you associated with you, they are blessed. You see, Joseph went out of the prison, they make him the head. Everywhere he go, it's like people just say, you look like you have great leadership skills. And guess what? When they put him to lead, nobody now fear run behind him and I watch him and I say, I wonder if they just easy because that is how when God favors us, it's like we say in Jamaican term, oh God bless, no man can curse. That is so true. The other thing, I said I was going to touch the story of Judah and I'm going back to it now. Anybody here doesn't understand this what happened with Judah and Tamar in the interest of time? So there was this custom back in Bible days, I don't know if it's still relevant now, where if like, let me see, Tony mother have 7 brothers, have 7 sons, and Tony married to me, and Tony died, and there's no children, the other brother in line would be required to marry me and raise up children. Outside of that, Judah went and took a wife of the Canaanites, and that was what happened. He had 3 sons. 2 of them died. You can read the story about Onan. He was the one who spilled the seed on the ground and God killed him. The first one died of a different way. And the other son that was left now, Selah, that Jacob was supposed to give to Tamar. In the lesson kind of bringing it out that maybe Jacob was saying, boy, I want there's something wrong with that woman here. 2 sons died, I don't think I want to give my 3rd son, because he would try to kill our father them. So he played a delayed game, and when Tamar couldn't wait, she deceived Judah and she conceived, slept with, they slept, maybe was drunk, I don't know, but they slept and she became pregnant. But because she knew about the law that she being a widow, if she was ever found pregnant, what was going to happen to her? She was going to be stoned to death. She was going to be killed. So she tell the man, because she disguised herself, that she wants something. Himself was send some gift, but she said, I want something to hold on to until when you send the gift, you get them back. But I guess she was smarter. She just disappeared when she get the gift, and when he send something them, nobody can find her, no prostitute. The prostitute, like what I said, but the prostitute always on the cross, and they come back and say, no, the prostitute not down there. So when the news broke now that she was pregnant, him and one of the first one come and say, oh, you're with child and you're not married, you're to be stoned. And she bring out the evidence again and say, this belonged to the man who I slept with. And because of the custom back then and whatever, the judges and whatever, they said she was right in what she did and no stoning for her. But before I say what I'm going to say, I want somebody to read Genesis 49 verse 10 while I'm talking, because Judah, it was predicted that Jesus would come through the lineage of Judah. Jesus is referred to as the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Have you ever wondered why? All of this is coming out right here. Because it's true that this same mix-up lineage with Judah and Tamar, that Jesus came, and it was predicted here by Jacob, and I want someone to read it. Genesis 49 verse 10.
The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh come, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be.
So I am saying that this it was predicted, because the scepter is like that thing that the kings and so they hold out. It was predicted that the scepter would not depart from Judah. And when you read further up, it tells you that Judah is referred to as a lion. A lion. Judah is a lion's whelp. For from the prey, my son, you have gone up. He bows down, he lies down as a lion. So that is one of the reasons why the Rastafarians, they say, Selassie is from the lion of the tribe of Judah, but they get it all mixed up. Jesus is referred to as the lion from the tribe of Judah. So this is showing us coming right down. We would be able to go through everything, the whole genealogy as chronicled in Matthew. So it said Tamar is the first of the 4 women, followed by Rahab as chronicled in Matthew 1 verse 5. Coming down to Ruth in Matthew 1 verses 5 and 6, and the wife of Uriah, Matthew 1 verse 6, whose genealogy preceded Mary, the mother of Jesus. One lesson we can take from this story is that just as God saved Tamar through his grace, transforming evil into good, that is what God does, transforming evil into good, so will he save his people through the cross of Jesus. And in the case of Joseph, he will turn his troubles into the salvation of Jacob's and his son. Before I close, any point from the lesson that we didn't cover, that any gem that anybody want to bring to the attention of the class?
Let's go back to the line. Let's go back to the line here. That Jesus really comes through. When you look at it, you wonder if any good brother that could have really come out of that.
True.
That's the reason when they look and say, can any good come out of here? That's and somebody goes, yo, see that? One, which is Christ. So let me tell you something, brother. There's nothing too messy that it can come out of. Once you trust Christ. The Bible says he's totally feeling of our infirmity. He knows everything. And once we just allow him to take us through, we can get through.
This part struck me with make no mention of how Israel and Jacob feel when him get to understand. Said Joseph never really did like way other 10 people come tell him. Why that just struck me at that parent and said, parenting hard. From them my family to be honest, that. How we could have deal with that if me and them really are going to Egypt? Or me alone I head down Egypt road. But it's really hard. For so many years. You have to suffer and breathe. And then you have to tell me now, say your son not dead. In the Egypt, a governor, Lord, God.
So you remember. So you remember the lesson said that when Joseph was getting all these dreams, Joseph would take it and have it in his back and head. Just like when Jesus said to his disciples, to his parents when they left him in Jerusalem, and they said, we still not that I must be about my father's business. It is said that the mother take it and the mother said what? I was pondering on it. So to me, you know, when Jacob heard that Joseph was in Israel, I feel that Joseph, even though, you know, him probably did shock and everything and angry, I don't know if it ever came out that the brothers sold him, because the Bible didn't tell us that. But I figured he would have remembered the dream and said, oh, God spared him and the dreams are being fulfilled. That could be one of it. But I don't know. Did you see anywhere that Jacob ever found out that the brothers?
He never found out. He never found out.
You understand? I know tell my brother Elliot.
You use certain metaphor that Joseph's life and the life of Jesus. You see when God write out the sin, you write it out, no remember it no more. What if Joseph, Joseph go tell him father, say, and his brother, do what we do to you, and so forth. He will not get that shock in life, you know. He will not get it immediately, you know. But he realized that the brothers changed. He forgive them.
And remember what he said to his brothers when they found out that what you meant for harm, evil, God meant it for good. He was basically saying, I forgive you. You probably fast track the plan for me to reach Egypt, but either way, God turned it around in my favor. And that is a lesson, maybe a hard lesson for some of us, because we don't think none of we reach a stage where we get sold out by our enemies or our family to some other family. It's just showing that how forgiveness works. And we have to get to that level. Elliot. Yes.
Saying this to say that one lesson we can take from this story, just as God saved Tamar through his grace, transforming evil into good, so will he save his people through the cross of Jesus. And in the cross of Joseph, he will turn the troubles of Joseph into the salvation of Jacob and his son. So there are a lot of things further on I wanted to comment on because of time. I'll just leave this, and there are many more things. I'm taking this from the lesson that are here that can clear up a lot of things that were bubbling over a while ago. But some other time.
Two closing points. One other gem is flee fornication. So we noticed that Joseph flee fornication, and it didn't go too good for him, but it worked out in the end. Joseph's position in Egypt did not corrupt him or change him. And the Bible does tells us that when we are faithful to God, He's going to allow us to ride upon the high places of the earth. We should not allow that to get to our heads and to corrupt us. We should, like Daniel and Joseph, I believe when God elevates us to a certain position, it is to either somebody is there that he needs to know more about him, so we should use the opportunity to let people know what we stand for and who we stand for. Close the bell ring out on me.
I'm not agreeing with the point you make about it.
You're not in agreement with the point I made about what?
He said, his stay in Egypt had not changed.
His stay?
Yeah.
Which one did I agree? The word stay?
Yeah, he said it had not changed.
To the followers.
I said something about the position did not corrupt him. His position in Egypt, the position that he rose to, did not corrupt him. And I'm taking it from a quote in the lesson.
Not changing.
Did I say not change him? Yeah. If I said that was an error, I said did not corrupt. I recall saying that. Didn't corrupt him, because I'm moving on to say what I just said earlier. And to close with this thought, that's from Ellen White Manuscript 85, August 22, 1906, it says, men and women in positions of trust are to be instrumentalities in the hand of God for promoting His glory. It is not about promoting ourselves and our glory. And there are a lot of other references that talks about, people in positions of trust where they become corrupt and they forget that it's God's working and not their working. And we are admonished. We have a lot of lessons, life lessons from the Word of God that tells us how we are supposed to behave, and in all things we are to give praise, honor, glory, and adoration to God. Thank you for your participation. Amen.